The hidden flame reawakening the lost wisdom of Gnosis. Beneath the surface of history lies a forgotten truth, once buried by time and fear, a wisdom so transformative it was silenced by those who feared its light. This is the story of the Gnostics, seekers of inner truth who claimed that the world we see is not the world as it truly is. To them, salvation was not granted through submission or creed, but earned through the inner revelation of hidden knowledge, gnosis, that unlocks the soul from illusion. Imagine a cosmos not crafted by a benevolent god, but by a blind architect, a false creator who built a world of shadows to distract us from our divine origin. This was the Gnostic vision, a radical call to remember who we truly are beneath the lies of culture, power, and material illusion. What follows is not merely a historical excavation, it is an invitation, not to blindly believe, but to courageously question and ultimately to remember. Not all knowledge was made to be shared. Some truths were considered too destabilizing, buried, hunted, and branded heresy. Gnosticism emerged at a crossroad of civilizations shaped by Egyptian mysticism, Persian dualism, Hebrew theology, and Greek philosophy. During the Hellenistic era, a time of cultural fusion, it offered an audacious alternative, that the material world was not divine, but deceptive. Where most faiths praised a loving creator, Gnostics told of the Demiurge, a flawed being who mistook himself for God and trapped the human spirit in matter. Alongside him, the Archons manipulated perception and kept souls imprisoned in illusion. Gnostic writings like the Gospel of Thomas were condemned, their followers exiled or executed. Yet the wisdom endured, hidden in whispers and secret texts, until the Nag Hammadi discovery in 1945 breathed new life into their teachings. To the Gnostics, the universe was not a miracle of divine craftsmanship, but a complex illusion designed to bind the soul. The Demiurge, born of arrogance, not wisdom, constructed a world rooted in deception. This was no paradise, but a trap. The Archons, extensions of his will, acted as cosmic jailers, enforcing the illusion by distorting human thought and experience. They ruled not through brute force, but through distraction, fear, and ego. Under their dominion, the soul forgets its origin. But the Gnostic message wasn't despair, it was liberation. Through Gnosis, one could awaken, pierce the illusion, and remember the divine source from which all things emerged. The body, once seen as a prison, became a crucible, not to be escaped, but to be transcended. What if the world around you, the systems, structures, and sensations, was a dream spun by entities that thrive on your ignorance? Gnostics held that the reality perceived by the senses is a cage disguised as freedom. The Demiurge and the Archons are not merely mythic. They symbolize the machinery of oppression, both external and internal. Politics, media, religious dogma, and even our desires can serve to maintain illusion. But within each person, a divine spark flickers, whispering that there is more. Liberation begins with doubt, with asking, what if everything I was taught is part of the lie? The Gnostic path is a solitary journey toward inner revelation, where awakening is not a gift bestowed, but a fire ignited. The Demiurge is not evil in the demonic sense, but in the cosmic one. He is the embodiment of ignorance, a shadow that believes itself to be light. His domain is the material cosmos, a system of control masked as divine order. In Gnostic cosmology, he was born not of divine will, but from a rupture in the higher realms, a byproduct of imbalance. Separated from the true source, he created a world in his own fractured image. His power persists only as long as we believe in his illusion. To reclaim your sovereignty, you must confront the Demiurge not only in the world, but within yourself. Every egoic impulse, every grasping fear, every illusion of control is his echo. Freedom comes not by fighting him, but by dissolving the falsehoods that sustain him. The Archons are the hidden engineers of the Matrix. forces that influence our thoughts, emotions, and institutions. They thrive in obscurity, working through the systems we're taught to trust, governments, religions, even our inner dialogue. They manifest as fear, vanity, division, and the voice of the ego. Their strongest prison is not physical but mental. To fight them is to recognize them in your own conditioning, your cravings, your beliefs, your attachment to identity. But the Gnostic path offers tools: meditation, contemplation, ritual, and radical self-honesty. Through gnosis, the illusions begin to fall away, revealing the luminous truth beneath. True knowledge is not information, it is transformation. Gnosis is not taught, it is remembered. It is the moment when the soul shakes off the dust of illusion and glimpses eternity. The systems of control fear gnosis because it bypasses them. It decentralizes power. It makes each individual a vessel of the divine, no longer dependent on priests or doctrines. To walk this path is to endure the fire. It requires courage to dismantle your identity, patience to sit with uncertainty, and a willingness to confront the self-deceptions you've mistaken for truth. But for those who dare, the flame reveals a freedom no institution can grant and no force can take away. Awakening rarely begins with lightning. It starts with a whisper, a subtle discomfort, a feeling that something is off. And once it starts, it cannot be undone. Synchronicities, dreams, moments of stillness, these are the breadcrumbs. Slowly, the illusions unravel. Success, identity, and tradition lose their shine. What remains is raw truth. To awaken is to realize that suffering can be sacred, that pain is not just a wound but a teacher, that every moment of hardship is an invitation to shed false layers and move closer to the essence. This is not escape, it is re-engagement, with eyes wide open. The awakened do not reject the world. They walk through it with clarity, knowing it is both real and not real, both prison and path. Awakening is not gentle, it is a forging. The soul is tested, burned, and reformed. Resistance is inevitable, from the world, from others, from the ego, but every struggle is sacred. The greatest challenge is not out there, it is within. The ego clings, resists, pretends to be the truth. But as you peel back each illusion, what remains is light. You will face loneliness, doubt, even despair, but each trial is a doorway. Every step forward, even the painful ones, brings you closer to freedom. This is the crucible, and from it, the soul emerges unbound. The journey doesn't end in separation, it ends in union. The Gnostic path leads to reintegration with the source, not as disappearance, but as expansion. As illusion fades, the soul realizes it was never lost, only dreaming. The false barriers dissolve, and what remains is oneness, not escape from existence, but a deeper form of it. The soul does not vanish, it becomes a beacon. Its liberation sends ripples across the cosmos, making the path easier for others. The return is not the end, it is the beginning of a new reality. Though ancient, Gnostic wisdom pulses through modern culture, recast in films, echoed in psychology, whispered through philosophy. From Carl Jung's shadow work to the Matrix, the same message repeats: awaken, see beyond the veil. In an era of mass information and algorithmic control, the Archons have new names, but their methods remain the same, yet so does the remedy. Gnosticism is not a relic, it is a rebellion. It asks not for belief but for seeing, not for obedience but for experience. It is a call to remember, to reclaim, to ignite the flame within. This is not just a book, it is a mirror. What you see within it depends on how deeply you're willing to look.